In our last video, we looked at solving inequations where the pro-numeral was a positive, okay, such as the ones in yellow. However, in this video, we solve the equations where the pro-numeral is a negative, just like the ones that I'm highlighting in pink. And it's actually a little bit of an extra step over the yellow ones. And so we've got the inequations down here, and I've highlighted two of them that I will go through and show you what happens if this were an equation and what our answer would have been and what our steps would have been and show how actually the place where most students will make the mistake, okay, with our inequalities with negative pronumerals. Okay, so let's have a look here. When it was an equation, so it had an equal sign, our steps would have been, number one, would have been to remove the 4 from from the left-hand side of the equal sign, and then we would have, secondly, removed the negative 3 from both sides of the equal sign. Similarly, for the one on the right, we would have removed the 2 from the left-hand side, and then we would have removed the 4, negative 4, from the left-hand side of the equal sign. And what we would have done in this situation, if we look at the one on the left, we would have done something to both sides. We would have minused 4 to both sides of our equation. And so on the right, that would have given us minus 8 minus 4, which would be minus 12. And on the right, we would have minus 2 from both sides of our equation, which would have given us minus 4n equal to 4. And then what would have happened as our next step, on the left-hand side of the equation, we would have divided both sides by negative 3, and that would have given us negative 12 over negative 3. And on the right-hand side would have given us, when dividing by negative 4, would have given us negative 4 over 4. And so on the left, it would have been 4 as the answer, and on the right, it would have been negative 1 as the answer. And so if we had just changed our equal signs and followed exactly the same process and just put a on the left, if we had put a greater than sign there, what we would have found, if I just go put the greater sign all the way through, what we would have found if we compare the answer on the right is with question 4a, okay, it's a less than sign. And so it actually gives us a false answer if we follow that exact process. Similarly, on the left-hand side of the screen, if we just get rid of all of our equals and now put back in our greater than or equal to sign, what we will find on the right is when we look at our answer for B, we get the wrong sign. And so this video, we will go through, and we'll go through all of the steps how to make sure that we can get the correct sign. Okay, that's the purpose of this video. Okay, let's go through, and we'll now look at solving question 4a and 4b. So I'm now going to do it in a nice green colour. So 4a, the proper way. So that one is wrong. one is wrong. Okay, so let's rewrite our inequality. So we have 4 minus 3x, and that is greater than -8. Okay. So as before, when we did our equation, okay, so let's put the equals back in there. What we need to do first is we need to do the same first step. We need to remove the 4 from the equal side, from the left-hand side of the inequality. And then our second step becomes to remove the 3. Now you'll notice at the top here, our second step was to remove the -3. And we did that by dividing both sides by -3. But down when we're dealing with an inequality, we're just dealing with a 3. Similarly, let's look at the one on the right. We've got 2 minus 4n is greater than or equal to 6. Our first step will be to deal with the 2. We want to remove it by doing an inverse operation. And our second step is to remove the 4. Not the -4, just the 4. Okay, so these are the first 2 steps, and then we'll look at the next step after that. Okay, let's go down and we'll get started on the one on the left. Okay, so what we want to do is we want to remove the 4 from both sides. So we're going to do an inverse operation. We're going to -4 from both sides. And so that will give us on the right, -8 minus 4 will be -12. And on our right-hand side one, we're going to minus something from both sides. We're going to -2 from both sides of our inequality. And so on the right, that will give us 6 minus 2. So that becomes 4. Okay, now let's go down to our second step. So we're just trying to get rid of our 3 on the left-hand side. Okay, so how do we get rid of the 3? We need to divide both sides by 3. Okay, so it will become -3x divided by 3 will become -x, okay, which will give us -12 divided by 3. And on our right inequality, we're going to divide by 4, and that will give us -n is greater than or equal to 4/4. Okay, let's simplify both of those ones. So on the left, we've got -x is greater than -12/3. That's -4. And on the right, -n is greater than or equal to 1. Okay. Now, what we can do is a kind of a cheat way. You can just say, well, I'm just going to swap all of the sides there, and that will give us the answer. And if we look at for A on the right, that does give us the answer. And for B there, if we just switch the answers, so -n becomes n, our greater than or equal to becomes less than or equal to, and our 1 becomes -1. Actually, that gives us the correct answers. But if we want to show the proof, this is how we do it. Okay. Okay. What we need to do here is we need to do an inverse operation for -x to move it over to the right-hand side of the equal sign. and we want to do an inverse operation for the minus 4 to move it over to the other side of the inequality. Similarly, when we look at the one on the right, we want to move it over, and the one, we want to do an inverse operation to move it over. Okay. And so how we would do that is we want to, when we're dealing with this minus n, we need to add minus n to both sides. We want to add x to both sides. Okay, which on the left-hand side will give us 0, and on the right-hand side will give us negative 4 plus x. And then we want to deal with our minus 4. So now we want to do the minus 4 and move it over to the left. And so what we do in that situation is we need to add 4 to both sides. And so that gives us 4 is greater than x. Okay. Is that still our answer or not? You can see they're the other way around. So we're not there yet. Let's just deal with our one on the right. Okay. So we want to do an inverse operation to remove the minus n from the left-hand side of the equals sign, from the inequality. So we're going to add n to both sides. Which will give us 0. It's greater than or equal to 1 plus n. And then we want to, let's move that up. Then we want to do our second inverse operation, which is to deal with that 1. We want to move the 1 to the left-hand side. So we're going to minus 1 from both sides. Okay, and so that will give us minus 1 and is greater than or equal to n. Now, has that got us to the right answer yet? It hasn't. Okay. Actually, what we must do on the left is if 4, okay, if 4, I'm looking at the pink part, if 4 is greater than x, we can say that x is less than 4. What? Let me say that again. If 4 is greater than x, that's the pink part, therefore we can say that x is less than 4. And so that does give us the right answer. Okay. Similarly, with our one on the right, if minus 1 is greater than n, we can say, greater than or equal to n. If minus 1 is greater than or equal to n, n is less than or equal to minus 1. Okay, so in the parts that I'm going to circle in brown, okay, that's just showing the proof for all the steps. Okay, if that's all too much, just go to this step here and this step here, where what you do is you go straight from that step up there down to this step, from this step here to that step. So minus x becomes an, here we go, minus x becomes an x, greater than becomes a less than, minus 4 becomes a 4. So you're just changing the sign on all of them. Minus n becomes n, greater than or equal to becomes less than or equal to, and 1 becomes minus 1. Okay, so that's just skipping a few steps, but it will still give you the correct answer. Let's just do one more. Okay, let's have a look at that one there. Minus 6m minus 14 is less than 15. So minus 6m minus 14 is less than 15. Okay. Just have to add a little page in. This app is called Notability. It's pretty good. Allows you to get some photos, PDFs. You can add pages. You can highlight. You can use different colors. You can use a microphone as well. So pretty good app. Okay, and so we're going to try to find our answer for that one. So that will give us 4i. And so let's look for our answer of 4i. This is the answer we're looking for. M is going to be greater than minus 4 and 5/6. Okay. So our first step will be to deal with the minus 14. So we're doing an inverse operation. Our second step will be to deal with the 6. Okay, so let's deal with our minus 14. So that will become negative 6m is less than. So we're going to add 14 to both sides, make it 29. Okay, now we're going to divide both sides by 6. So this is our second part of dealing with removing terms. Okay, so we're going to divide by 6, not negative 6, but 6. So that will give us negative m is less than 29 over 6, which if we look on the right hand side here, that will be 4 and 5/6. Okay. Again, if you want to do the simple way, let's go to the left here. We're just going to change the signs. So it will be m is greater than negative 4 and 5/6. That's the cheat way of doing it. If you want to do it the hardcore way, what we need to do is we need to deal with the negative m, and then deal with the 4 and 5/6. So firstly we'll go over there, secondly we'll go over there, and then thirdly this one we want to do a switch. Okay, so I'm just going to rewrite this just so that it's nice and clean here down when we're solving this answer. Okay, again, you can choose either way. You can choose the cheats way there, all right, the simple way, or you can go through the whole steps to prove it. Okay, so we're going to deal with the minus m, so that will become 0 is less than 4 and 5/6. plus m. And then secondly, so we're doing the 4 and 5/6. We're moving from the right hand to the left hand side, so it's another inverse operation. So will become negative 4 and 5/6 is less than m. And then finally, our last part is we're doing the switch. And that's if we say that negative 4 and 5/6 is less than m, therefore m must be greater than negative 4 and 5/6. And you can see there we've got the correct answer. And so I've given you there the steps how to solve the inequations when we are dealing with the ones with the negatives on the pronumerals, okay, which are the ones in pink. Okay, thanks for watching the video and good luck solving them. You should do a little bit of practice on these ones. Okay, good luck.